This series of messages is entitled Educating Children, Principles for Becoming. And we're really talking about educating children, say, about age 3 to age 20, that whole span. Helene and I will go back and forth. I'm starting it, but she and I will go back and forth on explaining different components, from the very concrete, like how do you become a better reader or a scientist, and the process that's involved, to things related to character and making choices in your teen years. We'll try to cover all of those topics. This very first one is to create a framework for how we understand education generally, because if you start with an idealistic framework, it's something to always aim for, and you can grow in accomplishing it. There's really not a ceiling. There's always more that you can do. So to begin this framework, if we're to define education, I'd like you to pay close attention to this definition. Education in these years, age 3 through age 20, you're creating momentum. Okay, I'll say that again. You're creating momentum. And what that means is you're fostering attitudes, habits, desires to grow, to flourish, to thrive, to blossom at every stage of life, to always become a better version of yourself. That's what we're building momentum in these years, whether it's achievements and cultivating your skills and talents and innate abilities, or whether it's cultivating relationships with others within the family, within the extended family, as you get older, within your social groups, where you are both a contributor to the group and you're gaining from the group. There's mutual support, lots of learning. That's a part of growing, is becoming a part. And eventually, so you do your part in creating a better world, no matter how small or how great, but it's an attitude toward life. And that's what education should do at its core. It creates a momentum for growth and becoming a better person and making a greater contribution to the world you live in. Now, the goal, when you think about age 20, the goal is to create self-agency. You have a lot of control, ages 3 through 20, maybe less as they get into their teens. But eventually you want a young man or young woman to act like an adult. What does that mean? Lifelong, you're considering, how do I grow here? How do I get better here? How do I associate with people in a better way? How do I contribute to the various social settings, from family to colleagues, however it is, you're looking to make contributions in life. And there's no limit to that. So there's an attitude, a self-agency, where you're looking, what are the opportunities to grow? What are the opportunities to become a better version of myself? What are the opportunities to grow and benefit the people that are around me? This is building momentum in ages 3 through about age 20 toward that end. Now, so there's 3 parts in this title. It says educating children, so we have to know about the children, and the principles of becoming. And that includes both the educator, which I'll explain, and then the relationship of the educator and the child. So first, you should all understand, whether you are a devotee of science or of your culture or of your religion or of your ethnic background, I can pretty much assure you that there is a fundamental belief that people want to grow. Children want to grow. That's natural, that's innate, and that's important to remember, because that never changes. Now, you may have frustrations and disappointments, and other things can happen, or like today, we really live in a world of entertainment where entertainment can capture children. I'm not against entertainment. I like a good movie and even some video games. But I think we all recognize that the world of entertainment can take children over, and eventually they're not growing anymore. So what I want to make a point on this first one is that is innate. That's how they are put together. That's how they're made. So there's a desire to grow and become a better version of yourself, better relationship to others. That's inside every child, and that's going to be important. Now, the second piece, of course, is the educator. And when I say educator, I do mean teachers. I mean parents. I mean grandparents. I mean coaches. Anyone who has a part in creating this momentum with children, whether it's in athletics or sports or music, is beside the point. The educator does 2 things. Number one, they introduce children to the world of possibilities. Any teacher, any parent is always opening up doors for children to discover what they might want to be, what pathways they might want to travel. And in many cases, to give them the training. Sometimes you can open up the door and they say, I like this, but there's also a training involved, and that may be hard work, that may require discipline. And so the person who's opening the door also shows the pathway of entering into that field of interest or study. The second thing they do is they navigate. They navigate that child's pathway to becoming better, because they're going to face problems, disappointments. They have to learn lessons that they don't know. They're unfamiliar with it. So even though they have this drive to want to grow and become everything that they can become, they're ignorant. They don't know the possibilities, and they don't know the struggles all the time of how to reach the goals that they have. So the navigator helps them overcome disappointments, face frustrations, deal with success in a productive way, not an arrogant way. The children don't know how to live. They don't know how to have self-agency. So the navigator, the educator, the guide I like to look at them as at least figuratively, coming alongside the children with their hands on their shoulders, pointing the direction, encouraging when they're frustrating, inspiring when they lack confidence, always being the engine, sort of the willpower that the child doesn't have, or the understanding. That's what the navigator is doing, guiding, and preventing what I think is one of the biggest obstacles to self-agency is victimhood. Children will face so many failures, and those failures write indelible stories on them. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do this. And what the navigator does is help them, just like an adult has to face their challenges and their difficulties. But kids can't do it by themselves. They need a navigator to walk through, okay, you don't like this. You don't want to do this. What can we do? That's the navigator. That's the guide. That's sort of the partner. Whether that's a teacher, it's harder with a bunch of students. Parents can do it better, or grandparents, but you're creating this navigation. And then the third piece, I think, is vitally important, and that is the relationship between the educator and the child. You see, to grow, for anybody to grow, there has to be a certain level of confidence and security and sense of safety, and I would say even a sense of love. Even if it's just a child recognizes this person, this woman, this man cares for me. And that relationship becomes the vehicle for which the educator, first of all, gets educated themselves. Who is this kid? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? What are his dispositions? Your understanding. And especially the older they get, my goodness, if you have teenagers, you know how much your child has changed from age 3 to age 15 or 16 or 17. And most of the time, if you want to remain a guide, it's not the child that has to change. It's usually the educator. You need a fresh look. Who is this guy? Who is this little girl? How do I help them? How do I guide them the next step so that they will grow? You need wise conversations. You need healthy dialogue. Sometimes you have to be very, very strict. And sometimes you have to be very, very lenient. It is a huge job. And the relationship is difficult because every child is different. Every educator, meaning parent or teacher, is different. And therefore, the relationships are always unique. And to cultivate that relationship is quite a job. That's probably the hardest thing in this whole process, is we who want to be educators reaching the children to create momentum in their life. There's a big burden on us. How to meet the needs of every single child. Well, I hope this is helpful. And in coming weeks, we'll get down into more of the details. I think my wife will be much better at that than I. But anyway, have a wonderful week.